Hi, this video is quickly going to explain the settings objects that we have before we get into actually starting to do our model. So to look at our settings objects, we can go to this view here, SCH1 settings. And you can see we have these sort of table type objects that contain a lot of settings that other objects use and also export. So we'll start with the job info settings. So you can see here we have quite a few settings related to the roof, site classification, uh, barrel requirements, external lintel type, coastal conditions, etc. So you can set those by selecting the objects, and hence now we'll go into the object info box for the first time, and you can see this object, as do all of the objects, they have quite a few settings against them. So you can see here we can enter the job number, job address if required, client name, house area. So this object actually also sends quants as well. So if you enter the house area into this object, it will send that off as a recipe. And same for house perimeter. So they're two important settings to fill out. We have other settings like site classification. The slab tool will pick that up. The coastal conditions will be picked up by lintels. We'll have the numerous settings used by ceiling frame and roof frame. We also have some recipes that get sent by this model as well. So every time you send quants from this object, it's going to send this recipe, every job, miscellaneous items, deliveries, and quotes. And these settings here are units. So if your units in Truth Engine are different to what you see here, you need to update that. So that, for example, could be linear meters. If your units are meter squared, but it has the superscript 2, the small 2, you need to change that here as well, if they do need to match up. And here are the house area recipe names and the house perimeter recipe names. So you'll see in Truth Engine, you'll have a recipe with that name. And in house area, for example, you might just put in termite treatment or general house cleaning item. So anything that's paid by the area of the house, you would put inside that recipe. And similarly for the perimeter. Okay, next one I'll go to the lintel span chart setting. So you can see here, these objects let you create the span charts for your lintels. So you can see here we have the brick type, which is vertically chord external, which will be the same for the internals in the majority of cases. You can see up to 1800 we'll use a 75 by 75 by 6 and use a 100 mm bearing. And that carries down all the way to a format opening. We'll need a 150 by 100 by 10 with a 180 bearing. So that's the span chart for your externals. For the external vertical, that's your internal vertical, which, like I said, generally the same. This is the vertically chord setting. So I must just explain what that vertically chord refers to. That needs to match the component name that's we use to build up walls, which I'll show you later. And if you come across here, you'll see we have two course face that is matching the component name. One course face that matches the component name. This vertically chord is a copy of vertically chord internal. Sometimes that recipe might appear in your wall types, but pretty rare, but this is here just here to make sure it gets the right lintel. So you see we have two course face settings and we have different span charts. So up to 1200, we use 75 by 6, and then up to 3.6, we'll use 100 by 75 by 6. After that, it goes to default size. That's when you might want to override that with a T-bar, which you can do using the objects. And here's a one course face span chart as well, which is pretty rare these days. But if you need it, that's where you can set it. This object here are your component settings. So when we get into the walls in a bit more detail, this will make more sense. So your walls are built up with these components. So your stock standard 2-course face, vertically cored internal wall. We'll build up with these two components, plus your plaster, plus your cavity, which we'll go through in a minute. But what this object does, it lets you know what the properties are of these objects. So if that component needs lintels, you'll see there's a 1 in that box there. If you need to send the surface, or in that case that will be brick cleaned, there's a 1 there. Pay through openings, so you can see plaster is set to 1 and render is set to 1. They're the two components where we do actually pay through openings. If that component type needs long reach, so any 2-course blocks generally need long reach, so you can see we have the 2-course face and the vertical cored internal and external. We'll send long reach. If the windows need cuts, that will be set to 1. As you can see, we've only a couple of types there. So we've got 2-course face, that will send cuts down each side of the window. Send length, so the only one currently that is set to true is stud walls. So that can help you get a quote out for your stud walls. Volume, so we only need that for cavity concrete. And send paint. So if you want to send paint for your plaster, or your plasterboard, or your wet plasterboard, or your cladding, it will send a recipe with that name. So generally, for example, it will send plasterboard dash paint. Okay, so they are the settings objects. See you in the next video.